time about how I catfished my boyfriend. I'd been dating my boyfriend Ben for around a year. We were really happy and he even moved in with me in my apartment. Everything was going great and I thought he could be the one. However, one day my friend Lacey sent me a screenshot of my boyfriend on a dating app. At first, I was hoping that maybe it was an old account. I didn't want to jump to conclusions if it was from before we started dating. The pictures that he had on the account didn't seem to be recent ones. I wanted to ask him about it and I almost did, but I had to be sure that he wasn't trying to play me. I called my friend Lacey and told her to super like him on the app. She's really pretty and they've never met, so I knew that he would match with her if he was still active on the app. After a few days, nothing happened. He hadn't matched or messaged her. I was so relieved that I even bought him a new jersey I knew he'd been wanting. I felt dumb even questioning his loyalty until I got an update from Lacey a few days later. He had matched with her on the dating app and messaged her. I was so mad I was seeing red. I was so close to going into the next room and going off on him, but I decided that I wanted to get back at him in a different way. I called Lacey and explained to her that I wanted to set him up and asked for her login information on the app, which she gave me. This is when things got interesting.
One time I was behind the register at Victoria's Secret. This customer walks in and immediately everybody spots her as a red flag. She's just picking up items, throwing them in her bag, not looking at sizes, not looking at colors. So everybody's like, Everyone's on their walkie like, watch this customer. She's coming to the fitting room. She's headed to the cash wrap. Somebody get her. Check her ID. Get her. Get her. She has a bag full of stuff. And guess who gets her at the register? Me. So she comes to my register and she dumps out her stuff and we're having a regular conversation. Hi, how are you? Yada, yada, yada. Her total comes up to probably between $700 to $900. It was expensive. My manager is at the register next to me talking to me on the walkie. Ashley, make sure you get that ID. Don't matter what she's using, make sure you get that ID. So I ask her for the ID because she's paying credit. Why do you need to ask for my ID? Just take it, run it. I'm like, no ma'am, I'm sorry, I need your ID for the purchase. She starts to raise her voice at me.
I've always had a good relationship with my mother-in-law up until I was pregnant. My husband's side of the family hasn't had a girl born in the past 100 years. So when everyone found out I was pregnant with a girl, no one believed me. Everyone was so shocked when it was announced that most of them denied it up until the moment she was born. And that's when the horrible comments started. Whenever my husband wasn't around, my mother-in-law would make snarky comments like, I wonder where she got that nose. It's definitely not my son's. I never told him and let everything slide because she's older and she's my mother-in-law. But when I was pregnant with baby number 2, and yes, it was another girl, I told him to wait as long as possible because I know she wouldn't like the news. When she found out it was a girl, she started sobbing and screaming. She was calling me a whore and demanded that I get out of her house. Those girls are not ours. She's a whore, a slut. My son did not make those girls. She looked at me and said, I let you get away with it the first time. I took you in as family. I allowed my son to believe he fathered that brat, but I will not allow it again. My husband was yelling at his mom, and I got up and took my daughter and I ran to the car sobbing. We decide to go no contact with my mother-in-law for the rest of my pregnancy. Until she decides to apologize for what she's done, we don't want to speak to her. A few weeks before my due date, my mother-in-law reaches out to my husband and says he misses her and my daughter. So he asks if we can go have dinner to try to mend the relationship. I said okay, but I didn't feel comfortable bringing my daughter, so I left her to my sister. At dinner, my husband asked his mom if she's ready to apologize. She said she's ready, but as soon as she gets the paternity test result, because my husband cannot be the father, and the fact that we have 2 girls is ridiculous. I proceed to grab my things because I'm not listening to this, when she grabs me and slaps me as hard as she can across the face. She calls me an effing whore and says I need to own up to my problems. I push her away, trying to get to the door as fast as possible when she throws a snow globe at my head. I fall to the ground, and that's when she starts kicking me. In my belly. My husband pushes her off of me and she breaks 2 fingers, but takes me to the hospital where I receive 6 stitches. She then tried to press charges against my husband, saying he assaulted her. But the hospital had more than enough proof to put her in jail. I sent her a gift in jail. The paternity results showing that her son is the father of my 2 daughters.
Am I the asshole for ruining my niece's birth over a name? I, 29 female, was pregnant with twins a few years ago. Unfortunately, only one baby survived, a little boy who we called Henry, and my daughter who passed, we called her Daphne. My sister and I were close growing up, but we drifted apart. There was a rivalry on her part after I met my partner. For example, she hated that we got engaged before her. She has been with her partner for 3+ more years, and she threw a fit saying she wouldn't attend our wedding unless she was engaged too. So they got engaged, and threw an engagement party the night before my wedding. When I announced my pregnancy, she wasn't happy, as I'd done another thing before her, but when my daughter died, she seemed to be a lot nicer. Because of this change, we made her Henry's godparent. She became pregnant recently and refused to announce the name until a few days after birth. The baby girl was called Theodora, which is beautiful. I was bringing presents to her and I saw my dad building a huge toy box with the name Daphne on it. When I questioned this, I was told the baby is going to be called Daphne and only Theodora on paper. No one will use her full name, only her nickname. All of my family knew and supported her. I got upset and started shouting, asking if this was a cruel prank.
Story time! So this situation happened when me and my friend group had just started 7th grade. And one of my friends in the group had already gotten detention for not finishing her homework. And keep in mind that this was a very strict teacher, so no one liked him. We'll call him Mr. Brown. So when the class found out that Mr. Brown gave Sophie detention for not finishing her homework, everyone thought that it was really unfair. A couple weeks go by and Sophie hated the teacher. And I'm pretty sure he hated all of us too. So then this one day, me, Sophie, and the rest of the group decided that we were tired of going to Mr. Brown's class just to get yelled at, so we decided that we were going to skip his class for that day. At the end of the period, we were walking to our next classes when we ran into Mr. Brown. He called us and pulled us aside, and he asked us where we were and why we weren't in his class today. We told him that we had all gone to the office, but he didn't believe us, so he gave all of us detention except for Sophie. In front of all of us, he told her to meet up with him after school and that she was going to spend detention in his class while we had it in a different class across the school.
One day, my cousin made a Tinder, and we were having a family barbecue, so he came over. He was like, oh my god, Sam, like this really hot girl just like matched with me, and then he shows me. And then I see the profile, and it's literally pictures of Madison beer. But the name on the profile was like Kalani. I was like, bro, I don't know who you think you're fucking texting, but it's not Madison beer. You're texting someone's fucking auntie right now, whole ass auntie. He's like, guess we're about to find out. I was like, no, what the no? He's like, yeah, I just gave her the Addy. She's about to pull up. Like, we're gonna meet. Like, it's all cool, Sam. Like, trust me. Trust me. Trust me, he said. Okay. I trusted him. So I see a car pull up, and he's like, oh my god, I think it's her. I was like, oh shit, what if I do meet Madison Beer? The door freaking opens, and this old lady pops up. I look at my cousin, and I'm like, go hug her. Go. You were so excited. It's Kalani, the one and only. Come on.
Story time. The time my client tried to fight me. So as you all know, I used to take clients, and this happened exactly 1 year ago. And this was a new client, let's just name her Katie. And she actually found me through TikTok. So of course she booked an appointment with me. She wanted a Christmas set because of the holidays, and I was super excited to do her nails. So the day comes and she's super nice. I always try to talk to all my clients because I find it really awkward when we're just both just sitting there. So I just start asking questions to get the conversation going. Like, where are they from? How was their day? Where do they work? Stuff like that. And this just normally leads to my clients spilling the tea or telling their life story. But the first thing that Katie says is that she has 3 kids and a husband. And she pulls out a family photo. Her kids are adorable, but then I saw the husband. I was shook. That's literally my boyfriend I've been dating for 8 months. Story time. My client tried to fight me part 2. So like I said in my previous video, Katie's husband turns out to be also my boyfriend that I've been dating for 8 months. So obviously my reaction when I saw the photo wasn't the greatest. And she was confused. And she asked me like, what's the problem? And I said, oh, like, I know your husband and that he's been playing the boyfriend role with me for 8 months. And her first reaction was just to try to hit me. And I backed up super quick. And I told her that why is she gonna fight me? She needs to fight her husband. And that I come in peace. Like, you can keep him, sis. Then she starts crying and said that he promised to never cheat on her again. And that they've been married for 7 years. I felt bad, but he had both of us fooled. This man was taking me on dates every weekend. And I saw him a lot. I don't know how he was living 2 lives. With 3 kids. And a wife. After everything, I dropped him, but she stayed with him.
My sister and I have always been mistaken as twins. I'm 19 and she's 16, but we have the same height, skin tone, and similar voice. She also has a habit of being a copycat, from the way I dress to hobbies, even piercings. I know it's cute if you look at it from the outside, but sometimes it gets annoying. Like, yeah, we are quite close too, but why does she always happen to pick up everything I pick up? One afternoon, I was tidying up some costumes in my college showroom and found a rather cute brown and pink wig. It looks like a mushroom. I put it on, think it looks rather funny, so I snapped a picture and posted it to my Instagram. I received a text from my sister asking if I really cut my hair. I didn't mention it was a wig. While I somewhat have a feeling that she might copy that too, I lied and replied yes. I came home that weekend and lo and behold, my sister emerged with the same silly brown and pink bob cut, except this one is on her permanent hair. She was surprised that I arrived with my hair still long, then realized that I lied to her. She was furious that she had to cut that silly hairstyle because she thought I had it. Our parents think that it's a really bad joke and wanted me to...
Story time! So one day this new girl came to school. We'll call her Anna. And Anna was a huge pick-me girl. And for some reason I didn't realize it until later. So I was friends with her for a while. And reminder, I already had a best friend. So a couple weeks went by, and I noticed that me and my best friend started talking less and less. And I was slowly getting pushed out of the picture. This new girl, who at the time I was friends with, was just using me to get closer to my friend. So one day I decided to confront her about it. So I confronted her about it, and then all three of us got into a huge argument, so big that our parents had to get involved. So after we supposedly got that settled out, everything kind of went back to normal. But then one day my parents pulled me aside and said we needed revenge. Like for part 2.
Am I the asshole for refusing to attend an apology dinner after my mother-in-law called me a bad mother at my son's funeral? I lost my son to congenital heart disease, and he did not survive the open heart surgery at the age of 1 year and 6 months. Mother-in-law and I were in constant conflict. Things always been bad between us, but in those months, we reached our limit. She kept getting involved in my son's treatment and criticized every decision I made, claiming I didn't know how to handle my son's illness. We went low contact, but she kept causing issues occasionally. My husband was torn between our son's illness and his mother's issues. When my son passed away, she came to the funeral and caused a scene by arguing with me, knowing I had no energy for it.
Oh my gosh.
She used the fact that everyone was there so she could say it was my fault my son was born sick and I didn't take care of him properly, and that I was the one who took their grandchild away from them and caused them heartache. She then loudly called me a bad mother. I had no idea how I kept my composure